Look at this. A family's electric bill. Last winter, they paid about $100 a month. This year, same house, same heat, same light, $281. They didn't change a thing. The reason their bill nearly tripled is sitting in a windowless building on the edge of town. A building they will never set foot in, drinking enough electricity to power a small city, to train an artificial intelligence they will never own. You are already paying for the AI boom. It is just hidden, tucked into your power bill, under quiet words, transmission, capacity, and here is the part almost nobody tells you. Some families are being charged for data centers that will never even be built. We'll get to that. For most of us, the AI revolution has felt far away, something happening inside our phones or on a stage at a tech conference. But this past year, it started showing up somewhere very close to home. The electric bill. Across the country, the places where power bills are climbing fastest have one thing in common. One recent analysis found that 70% of the areas with rising electricity rates sit within 50 miles of a data center. And people have noticed. In a Gallup poll this spring, 71% of Americans said they would oppose a data center being built near them. Not just Republicans, not just Democrats. Americans. This is not a red issue or a blue issue. It is a bill issue. So how did the most exciting technology of our time end up as a line item on your electricity statement? To understand that, you have to follow the money. Here is the thing the headlines miss. A data center doesn't just plug into the grid like a giant house. To feed one, a utility has to build new things, new high-voltage power lines, new substations, sometimes entire power plants kept on standby. That costs billions of dollars, and someone has to pay for it. In a fair system, the company that needs all that new infrastructure would be the one to pay for it. But that is often not what happens. Last year, 2 researchers at Harvard Law School published a study with a blunt title, Extracting Profits from the Public. They reviewed nearly 50 cases where utilities and data centers cut deals and reached a damning conclusion. Utilities, they wrote, are forcing the public to pay for infrastructure designed to supply a handful of exceedingly wealthy corporations. And it happens in a few quiet ways. Sometimes the utility hands the data center a secret discount rate and spreads the shortfall across everyone else. Sometimes the cost of those new power lines simply gets buried in a part of your bill that no regulator ever really examines. The Harvard researchers had a name for the people left holding that tab. Captive ratepayers. You. To see the scale, look at the biggest electricity market in the country, in the eastern United States. It's called PJM, and it covers 65 million people across 13 states. Every year, it runs an auction to guarantee there will be enough power to go around. 2 years ago, that auction cost about $29 per unit of capacity. Last year, it exploded to $270, nearly 10 times higher. And the single biggest driver was data centers. They caused 63% of that increase, around $9 billion, handed straight to families. Then, a separate study found another $4.3 billion in new power line costs, quietly slipped onto bills, with more than 95% of those projects charging the public instead of the trillion-dollar tech companies the lines were built for. For most of us, this still stays abstract. A few dollars more, easy to blame on inflation. So to really see it, go to the place where the AI boom is most concentrated on Earth, Northern Virginia, a corner of Loudoun County so dense with server farms that the industry simply calls it Data Center Alley. So much of the world's internet traffic flows through here that it is often called the most connected place on the planet. This is the beating heart of the digital age, the engine behind the apps and the AI tools that millions of us now rely on every single day. And the families who live right beside it are the first to feel how the bill gets quietly handed off. To wire up all of those data centers, the local utility had to build a wave of new power lines and substations. And in Virginia alone, in a single year, around $1.9 billion of that cost was placed onto everyday electric bills. Remember those captive ratepayers from a moment ago? This is their face. A retiree on a fixed income. A young family already stretching every paycheck. They did not buy a bigger home. They did not plug in a single new device. They used the very same power they always have. And yet, the number at the bottom of their bill keeps climbing to help connect a building they will never once step inside. And here is what unsettles people the most. Not one of those families ever got to vote on it. They were simply handed a slice of the cost. But to be clear, this is not an argument against the data centers themselves. They power tools that are reshaping medicine and science and ordinary life. And they are not going away, nor should they. The real question is simpler and a lot fairer. When a trillion-dollar company needs a brand new power line, who should pay to build it? The household down the street or the company that ordered it? For now, in far too many places, the rules still give the wrong answer. Now, to be fair, there is another side to this. Data centers do bring something. They are often the single largest taxpayer in a small county, and the industry now contributes well over $150 billion a year to governments. And not every alarming headline holds up. Some states with the most data centers actually have below average electricity rates because a steady customer that runs around the clock can help spread the grid's fixed costs. One careful study, though it was funded by the data center industry itself, found no clear evidence of a nationwide cost shift that deserves to be said out loud. But here is what doesn't wash away. The new infrastructure is real. The cost shift inside PJM is real, and the scale of it is almost hard to believe. This year alone, just 4 companies, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, and Meta, plan to spend around $725 billion building out AI. These are the richest companies in the history of the world. So the question on the table is a simple one. Should the family with a $281 bill really be chipping in to help them? And now, the part we promised you. Remember those families being built for data centers that may never be built? Here is what that actually means. The power lines and substations get planned, approved, and started years before a data center ever opens its doors. But the breakneck pace of the build-out is starting to cool. And a lot of those announced data centers are quietly being delayed or scaled back. One market research firm estimates that between 1/3 and 1/2 of all the data centers planned in the United States this year will be pushed back or dropped. Of about 16 gigawatts of capacity announced for this year, only around 5 are actually under construction. Even Sam Altman's flagship Stargate project trimmed a major expansion in Texas. And in some communities, local pushback led to more than 20 projects being cancelled in a single quarter, together worth more than $40 billion. But here is the catch. The wires don't get cancelled. Once a utility has spent the money preparing for a data center, customers can be stuck paying it off for decades, even if the data center never shows up. As one of those Harvard experts warned, utilities spend billions of dollars on new infrastructure for these data centers, and then the data centers go out of business or never operate at all. Think about that. You can be billed for years for a power plant built to serve a company that simply walked away. The wires are real, even when the data center isn't. If all of this feels strangely familiar, that's because we have done it before. 1862. President Lincoln signs a law to build the first railroad across the continent. To get it done, the government hands private railroad companies an astonishing amount of public wealth. By the time it's over, the railroads have been given roughly 175 million acres of public land, an area larger than Texas, plus government-backed bonds for every single mile of track. It builds something real and important, but it also becomes a feeding frenzy. An insider company called Credit Mobilier built nearly $94 million to lay track that cost about 50, pocketed the difference, and quietly handed discounted shares to members of Congress to keep them looking the other way. The speculation raced ahead of what the country actually needed. And when one giant railroad financier finally collapsed in 1873, it touched off a 5-year depression. When the music stopped, it was not the railroad tycoons left holding the bill. It was everyone else. And here is the eerie part. A lot of today's data centers are being built along those very same routes because the fiber cables that carry the internet still run through the land corridors handed to the railroads back in 1862. The land grab of one century is literally wiring the next. But there is good news, and it might be the most bipartisan story in America right now. People across the entire political spectrum have looked at this and said the same thing. A $1 trillion company should pay for its own power. 23 states have now passed rules that force data centers to sign long contracts and put up collateral so that if they walk away, they eat the cost, not you. Federal regulators have ordered the nation's largest power grid to write new rules. And this March, the Trump administration got 7 of the biggest tech companies to sign a pledge, promising that the cost of their power will not be passed on to American households. For now, it is only a promise, with no law behind it. But when the left, the right, and the White House all agree on the same thing, that tells you how real it is. The AI revolution is real too, and it may well be worth it. But the first bills landed in living rooms that never got to vote on it. And maybe, quietly, in your mailbox too. The technology was never the problem. Who pays for it is a choice, and that choice is still ours to make.